So to get you started, we're going to give you two examples of some legal descriptions and the surveys that they're drafted from. So first of all, you can create a Word document and just start typing. You can just fill it out according to the plat. As you see it, we've covered the degree symbol or spelled out the word degrees, so you don't need special tools. You can take, in the old days they took a typewriter and just started typing legal descriptions as they looked at a plat. Today we have software that can usually generate these bearings and distances from a closed polyline or from a points file. That's totally fine if you have the capabilities of doing that. I'm not requiring that in this course. We will be requiring software and a lot of technical hands-on applications in the next course, next semester. But for now, you certainly have the ability just to make a text file or a doc file. As long as it looks right, you're good to go. So let's get started on this one. And this is one where I did generate a raw text file from my surveying software. It will not do it perfectly. What it does is it keeps you from having to enter in each bearing and distance and having human error interjected into the bearings and distances. So this is a survey or a portion of the survey here on the right side of the screen that we're preparing it from. This is a survey that I prepared for a title insurance company dealing with a little bit of a mess over in Paulding County. And there's a lot of stuff on here that you don't really need to know, and I left it on here so that you can see the plat, so that you understand that there's a lot of stuff that's on the plat that doesn't make it to the legal description, but the legal description is still sufficient, legally adequate. So here the surveyor has identified a point of beginning. This is a good practice to go ahead and label the POB or, if applicable, the POC. It's not required. As long as it's on there, it meets the requirement. It needs to be labeled as what it is, like a 1/2-inch rebar found. Graphically, you can tell that this is at the west line of land lot 895, which runs this way. Here's 895, here's 894, and then you got Fry Road. Here it is. So this 1/2-inch rebar, if the surveyor had not labeled it, you're still not handicapped. You could begin here. You could also probably begin here at the right-of-way intersection, but this right-of-way intersection was not monumented. And that's common to not monument right-of-way intersections because nobody ever looks there. They just look at the roads. Nothing wrong with monumenting them. It's a good practice, but it's often of a very low utility value as far as being utilized. So the legal description here is the title. This is an as surveyed property description. This is not a special font. I just put a space between every character. I picked this up from a very experienced closing attorney on Linux a few years ago, and I've liked it and kept it. The location caption, all that tract or parcel of land lying and being in land lot 895 of the 3rd district, 3rd section, Paulding County, Georgia, being more fully described as follows, : So ta-da, here we go. Now, that's not a full sentence, but it's grammatically correct in how the words are structured. Beginning. I like that to be all caps and bold. That is a key pivotal point in the description. It's not really required. It's part of my stylistic taste. But we are beginning at a 1/2-inch rebar found at the intersection of the west line of land lot 895 with the northern 40-foot wide right-of-way of Fry Road. I like to include the width of the right-of-way right there in the description. You can do it other ways, like you could say the northern right-of-way of Fry Road, parentheses, 40-foot wide, 40-foot right-of-way. You just need the width needs to be incorporated so that someone knows, oh, I'm probably looking 20 feet from the center line. From there, we are continuing thence. You always include thence before each call, a call being a bearing and distance or a course. Thence continuing along said land lot line. north 012448 east, a distance of 253.89 feet to a 1/2 inch rebar found. What is that? That's right over here where we're continuing north. Here's our point of beginning. As we're continuing north along the landlocked line, there's the bearing and distance to this 1/2 inch rebar found. And I've got some notations and things. You could incorporate that into a legal description. It's probably just going to muddy it up and confuse things. And again, that's where I caution you not to be so complicated that even a surveyor has to scratch his or her head and understand it. So now we've made it to this northwest corner of the property. Thence leaving said landlocked line. So when you go to and follow a legal boundary, a landlocked line, a road right of way, a creek, etc., when you leave it, you should say you leave it. You're along it. So we're leaving said landlocked line south 85 1828 east, a distance of 230.29 feet. Right here is that bearing and distance. We're obviously coming down in a clockwise direction, kerchunk, to a 2-inch open top pipe found on the western 100-foot wide right of way of the Dallas-Ackworth Highway. So right here's that 2-inch open top pipe found on the Dallas-Ackworth Highway. Thence along said right of way, south 29, 21, 27 west, a distance of 227.43 feet to a point. So if there's nothing there, it's just a point. It's just a geographical image of, or a location. It's a coordinate position, whatever you want to call it. It's just a point. It's not a 1/2 inch rebar. It's not a 2-inch open pipe. It's just a point on the northern right of way of Fry Road. So we've gotten to Fry Road's northern right of way right here. Poof. Thence along said Fry Road right of way north 860453 west, a distance of 100.02 feet to a 1/2 inch rebar found and the point of beginning. So up here is where we're beginning, point of beginning. You could stylistically say the point of beginning is a 1/2 inch rebar, thence from said point of beginning being established, blah, blah, blah. But this is my style. This is what I suggest because it's concise, it's repeatable. But here's the last call, 100.02 feet back to the point of beginning. Poof. The footnote. Said property contains 0.96 acres. Now the 0.96 was cut off of this screenshot that I grabbed. It is more fully shown on a retracement survey prepared for XYZ Title Insurance Company by Chastain & Associates PC. Surveyor and license number can be used, but the company name is more important because that's where you want to find a copy if there's something that you can't read. Dated December 11th, 2023. And here's the file number. So if you're surveying something next to this piece of property and it's not adding up, or you're wondering what's going on, because if you notice, part of the whole reason we were involved in this, there's some issues up here. There's a gravel pile, there's a driveway that was cut in over the line, there's some stuff going on. There's some notes about a division line on a former plat. There's all kind of stuff that's on here. Let's say you're surveying up here, the property next door to the north, or maybe to the west, and you're like, wow, there's more going on here. What is going on? The vesting description was a train wreck. That's one reason the title insurance company got involved. That's one reason why a couple of previous surveyors really boogered this up. They didn't take their time and dig into the research and analyze it correctly, and so that's why we were called in. But if you're surveying next to this and you run across a subsequent description like the one on the screen and you need a copy, first let me say, every time you see a legal description that calls for a survey, don't call that surveyor and ask for a copy of it. You will be very annoying and you'll eventually wear out your welcome and not get them. At least that's how I handle them. If you really need it, we'll share. That's what we're here for. That's another reason to include this file number right down here. If you shoot me an email and say, hey, I'm surveying the property to the north of this over here in Paulding County, and can I get a copy of file number 223H29? Then I know exactly what you're surveying. I can pull it right up. It saves me searching through my index. If you give me the landlocked district and section and county, acreage and date, from the footnote, we can eventually find it, but having the file number is wonderful to include in a legal description. Feel free to rewind and watch this some more. This material is provided to you where you can pull it up and look at it yourself in greater detail, not just in the PowerPoint. Now let's look at example number 2. This is one that has an off-site commencement point. So I'm going to just kind of illustrate for you that this is Highway 515. Now you've got the whole plat, but just note that this is Highway 515, and not to scale, we come all the way up here to Highland Crossing. And this right-of-way intersection has physically been boogered up with some entrance features, some pylon signs and that sort of thing, but the position of this right-of-way intersection is not in question. Everybody knows where it is. You just can't drive a pin there right now. So this is basically the commencing point. Now, the plat doesn't spell it out. You got to understand legal descriptions. So this is the POC up here. So we're commencing at a point on the southeastern variable width right-of-way of Georgia Highway 515. So the width is varying. It offsets and jogs all over the place. With the center line, excuse me, it's the center line. That's what everything was tied to, was the center line of Eller Road, also known as Highland Crossing. That's why there's no monument there. It's in the middle of the road. You get run over. Fence along said right-of-way, southwesterly, 412.56 feet to a half-inch rebar found. That's this point right here. We're still not to our boundary, but here is the 412.56. So we know that from where we are, come down 412.56 along the right-of-way. The right-of-way is definable legal boundary. The bearing and distance would have been nice, but all we have here is the actual distance as established by the surveyor. So we get down to this half-inch rebar found. Fence continuing along said right-of-way, south 312003 west, a distance of 78.99 feet. That's this call to a point. It's where the right-of-way makes a bend. It's actually the PC of a curve. There's nothing there. Fence continuing along said right-of-way with a curve turning to the left. Now it's very hard to tell on here, but it's curved. The highway is curving in this direction. So it's a curve to the left because you started up here at the point of commencement. You're coming this way, so you're looking, this way. So it curves to the left with a curve turning to the left with a length of 81.05 feet. There's your 81.05 with a radius of 6799.88, subtended by a chord bearing south 31 5418 west. That's right over here with a chord length of 81.05 feet. Excuse me, I actually got those backwards. The curve is so flat that the chord and the arc are the same distance. That's a rare occurrence. Almost always your arc is longer, but the curve length is 81.05. That's down here. The chord is also 81.05, but it's up here where the chord is defined. So we come along this curve to a half-inch rebar found and the point of beginning. So the point of beginning is right here. POB, 1/2 inch rebar found. So this is the first part of the legal description. Second part, all right, now we just got to here, point of commencement, point of beginning up here at the northernmost point on the property. Now we're going to go clockwise. See right here, it's south 57, 44, 54 east, 290.34 feet. So we've got down to here. Now that this is the second part of the description is right here in the blue box. So fence leaving said right-of-way of Highway 515, that's up here, south 57, 44, 54 east, a distance of 290.34 feet, to a point on the northwestern 80-foot wide right-of-way of Highlands Crossing South. Said point being witnessed by a 1/2 inch rebar found 0.46 feet distant on the same line extended. So you can look at the plat in more detail. It's provided in the module. But that's what it's saying is this rebar, we're holding it for line, but previous surveyor boogered up where the right-of-way actually was located, made this line longer than it actually is, because the right of way is senior and the city owns it and it's already out here. But we're holding this rebar for line, and instead of driving 1.46 from it, we're just leaving that pin in the ground, and nobody's over here except for the street. You're gonna wonder where it is. So fence, we're gonna fence along said right of way of Highland Crossing South. South 320601 west, a distance of 71.78 feet to a point. That's this call. Comes down the right of way, and then there's a point. That's the triangle right there. It's right near the crystals sign. And that's just a point of commencement of PC on the curve. Because then we're coming thence along said right of way with a curve turning to the left. It's also, you can kind of tell it's turning to the left. There's the chord bearing distance, or the curve arc length and radius, then the chord bearing a distance to a 1/2 inch rebar found. Here is our 1/2 inch rebar found. Thence we're leaving said right of way, and we're going north 5742.27 west, 289.82 feet. There's our bearing and distance where we leave the right of way and go northwest to a 1/2 inch rebar found on the southeastern right of way of Georgia Highway 515. So trust me, I cut that off, but it's a 1/2 inch rebar found on the highway right of way of 515. Thence with a curve turning to the right. So remember, when we were coming down this way, it was turning to the left. Now we're going in the opposite direction, so it is turning to the right, like that, exaggerated. There, and down here we've got the arc length. Arc and curve are interchangeable, they're synonymous. There's the arc and curve data subtended by a chord, blah, blah, blah. This is in C1. Now that's on the plat that you look at the PDF. It's not on the screen, but you go to a curve table and we've got C1's data, just like we've got C2's data down here on Highlands Crossing. So that data is on the plat. It's just not staring at us because it's in a table. There are two good examples on how to draft legal descriptions. I would suggest that you pull up both PDFs, give them a good hard look. Both PDFs for both examples, the plat and the description, and follow along. Make sure that you understand it. And this is the format. Look forward to your submittals. And if you have any questions or get stumped, shoot me an email. Thank you.